Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Historian and the Maker. This is Dr. Rosamund Lily West, historian, lecturer and curator.
Thank you. And this is Richard Chown, award-winning goldsmith, designer, maker.
Thank you.
Sorry we haven't been on for a while, but we're here now.
Yep.
And we're going to do a podcast on, we're looking at this particular example. This is from the Museum of London. This is a brass ring. We're going to assume it's a wedding ring just because we want to talk about, we're going to talk about wedding rings, but more broadly, we're going to talk about different materials. We always think of a gold wedding ring, or you don't if you're Richard, but...
Gold's good. Gold's great.
Yes, yeah, but you work in so many metals, don't you? So we're going to talk about different metals, what those metals mean, both sort of symbolically, but also for your body. So remember, jewellery is something you wear on your body.
Yes.
And a wedding ring is a good thing to talk about because it's something you wear on your body every day.
So when's this one from?
This one is dated 16th to 17th century, so obviously they can't date this exactly.
Okay. Do we know where from?
I think it's English.
And you said... We had this whole discussion about the value of something like this because I've got this question about why wouldn't you just make it in silver, because I don't think silver's that expensive that many people wouldn't be able to afford it. But you were saying these turned up on records in where was it, in debtors' prison?
Oh no, I was saying that because I'm really interested in sort of history of everyday people. So if we're thinking about everyday people's wedding rings, which we can assume this would be because it's brass and it's a cheaper material, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. But yeah, I was thinking about how we would find records of what ordinary people, ordinary women, were wearing for wedding rings. And I was thinking...
Just women, not men?
I think men wearing wedding rings is relatively new thing, especially for ordinary people. What was I saying? Oh, so I think where you would find out who was wearing wedding rings, what wedding rings they were wearing, if you're thinking of ordinary people or even very poor people, I think maybe, you could look at people that were in debt, like debtors' prisons.
Records of these?
Oh, I have not looked into this, no. We could look at like maybe workhouse records to see if someone had even the semblance of like...
But they would have been taken off them, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And they're good points in a person's life where possessions are recorded. Both disastrous points, also deaths and things like that.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely something I'd like to look into in the future. Okay. But you're interested in this obviously from a materials point of view, because I always find this really interesting listening to you with your clients. It's really interesting hearing about the different materials you can make jewellery, or specifically today we're talking about wedding rings out of, and what that means.
Well, yeah. So brass sort of, it looks a lot like gold. So you often use it, like a lot of fashion jewellery for shows and things is made of brass, so they don't have to buy the gold. Make some brass, polish it up, looks lovely. But it does oxidise. It oxidises only a bit though. I mean, it's a very, very useful metal because it oxidises very slowly, lasts a very long time, it's very pretty. So they put it on ships and stuff in the olden days to keep barnacles off the surface. It's sort of expensive if you talk about ship levels, but when you talk about a small amount, this is like the amount you might use in a sort of a plumbing washer. So it's not crazy expensive, and it's been around for a very long time. Brass is, I looked this up, you can have a whole load of different metals used in brass. It's always a copper alloy, as far as I can tell. But the main one we think of is copper zinc, which is the same as that stuff you call pinchbeck.
Oh, yes, yeah. So I'll explain. Pinchbeck, I really like antique jewellery, and I've worked in museums. So pinchbeck is a kind of, I don't know, you'd say colloquial term for brass. Yeah,
because you said it's imitation gold.
Imitation gold, which has been and still is very, very popular for obvious reasons.
But if you call it pinchbeck,
looks like gold.
It's like when they changed brown mushroom to chestnut mushrooms and suddenly everyone bought them. Pinchbeck is just, as far as I can tell, just fairly normal brass. Yeah. You might change the alloy a tiny bit, but it is a copper zinc alloy. Mostly copper, bit of zinc. I'm not quite sure on the balance. I have worked it, but I've got a problem that I'm allergic to both copper and zinc. Oh, yeah. So if I wear a brass ring, I get a rash. First of all, it makes my finger go green, which it does to everyone, because the copper oxide, you get two. You get a green one, you get a black one. The green one will stain your finger green. And the other thing is, it'll give me eczema. But I worked a brass ring recently and also gave me a migraine in the process, so I'm going to be very careful about doing this, just the fumes and the smell of it. So it's a weird... It's an interesting metal.
So if someone wore this as a wedding ring or every day, would that turn their finger? Would this have
I
turned
think so.
someone's finger green?
So this is what, if I wasn't allergic, I wanted to test this and see if you wear it for long enough, does it stop making your finger green? Because what can often happen is that the atoms in the surface of a metal, you can take out all the reactive ones. So say the copper's more reactive than the zinc. If the copper all oxidizes out, then you're just left with the zinc, and the zinc won't make your finger go green. So I wonder if it's like a temporary thing. But as I said, I can't really test this because it would give me big ugly rash on my finger, which I'm not so keen on. When I was learning silversmithing, I did it with copper, and my hands looked like zombie hands, and I had a job at Sainsbury's, and I had to send me home because my hands were just covered in eczema. It was very grim. But yeah, a big question for me is also, this is a very thin ring. So looking at it, that's not a very strong ring. If this is a wedding ring, what I'm wondering about. So there's two ways I've been thinking about this. One of which is sentimentality can be in anything. So people can bond a lot with a material, even if it has no real financial value. It's easy to think of jewellery as financially valuable, but a lot of the time it's doing much more of a sentimentally valuable thing, as in an object will represent something. It will represent a person or a relationship or a time or a place, something you want to remember, something that helps you remember that. And it doesn't need to look like anything to do that. It just has to stay on and not fall apart and not make you sick and just the basic stuff. It helps if it feels nice, but it's fascinating the number of things. A lot of men's jewellery in particular is like this. It might be something their mum made in an evening class 30 years ago, and they gave it to them as an afterthought, and they hang on to it, even though it looks fundamentally like nothing at all. And that's very common. So you can entirely do that with a brass wedding ring, and I entirely see that as possible. But I also keep thinking, how expensive really was silver? I mean, I was looking it up, and
I think silver will have been more expensive than brass.
Definitely more expensive.
And yeah, and if this is the most expensive thing you can buy, at least it looks gold.
Yeah, I just wonder
if gold is what you want, which I
well,
imagine
this is the other thing.
Person might have, yeah.
Is this there just to look like gold? Is someone having a pretend gold ring?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's it. Are you fooling everyone else, or are you fooling the woman you give it to? That's obviously awkward.
Or I have made pretend wedding rings for women who want some peace and quiet.
Oh. Wow.
So I don't know if a woman could buy a brass ring so she can walk down the street and go to the tavern without being hassled too much. I've done this for a waitress once. I made her a simple 9-carat gold pretend wedding ring because she just wanted some peace and quiet.
Well.
So that's another thing that could be happening.
That's true. So coming back to sort of now, modern era, what do you kind of say when people are asking about materials? What's your You have a whole spiel, don't you?
I have a long spiel. I think I should save us from the whole thing, but I'll show you some. I can show you a piece of brass next to a piece of 18-carat gold.
I wonder if it'll pick up on the camera.
So we have to lean out the camera. We're focusing on our faces, so you have to do that. So this is a brass ring and an 18-carat gold ring, and they look very, very similar. Very similar indeed. Now, so this one's the gold. You can lean back now. I think it's all right. This one's the gold and this is the brass. Is that right? Yes. Now they look very similar. Now this is a brass ring I've polished up, so you can see polished brass looks very similar to gold.
Did you polish that up for today?
I just did it with cloth just now. This cloth. But this is the gold ring again with an unpolished piece of brass, which as you can see is not shiny. Pardon? No, it seems to be working. This one doesn't seem to be a problem.
Oh, okay.
My other phone seems to be a problem. I do this a lot on video calls, like lean out. So you can see the brass dulls quite fast, but it won't really when you're wearing it. So it's a great sort of...
because as you're wearing it, it's been polished all the time.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. As I say, it's a very nice, it's a lovely metal to wear if you just want the sentiment, you don't mind your finger going green. The financial value isn't a problem. I think the sentimentality is wonderful, and you can get a lot of very nice feeling to it. This is a very thin ring though, which is what.
Yeah.
That's a very, very thin ring, which makes me surprised about what is really going on.
Maybe this wasn't really worn. We don't know that.
Yeah.
It might not be really worn. It has wear on it, scratch marks, but that might just be from being in a drawer for.
But then it might also be trying to look like a gold ring. Because if someone was trying to pretend they were wearing a gold ring, if they could only afford a simple silver ring, then... No, if they could only afford... If there was only a possibility that they'd be able to afford a thin gold ring, if you get a fat brass ring and say it's gold, everyone's going to be like, who are you fooling?
Oh, okay.
Whereas if you get a thin one, who knows? You might be able to pull off the jest.
Maybe.
If that was the point. But I'm not saying it definitely is. As we were talking about doing this episode, I listened to a history podcast, The Rest is History. They did a brilliant one on the most, like terrible scandal in European royalty history called the Meiling Affair.
I hadn't heard of this.
No, but this is the cousin of Franz Ferdinand, who was supposed to be, who was originally the Archduke and the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne before Franz Ferdinand. And he was a guy called Crown Prince Rudolph, and he was 30, married with a daughter, and had an affair with a 17-year-old called Mary Wetzera. And he gave her an iron ring. Now, what's interesting about this is he's the heir to an empire, literally. He can afford anything at all, and he chooses to give her an iron ring when he could have absolutely had gold or platinum.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
And the whole point of this podcast was that this was the most goth thing that ever happened. The most teenage goth thing that ever happened. It was like the ultimate song by The Cure or something. It was just ridiculous. And I think the ironness was kind of buying into that. Yeah. Like the darkness. Because iron shines up quite nice in sort of gunmetal grey colour, but also goes quite black. You can make it black on purpose, which is quite fun. You could have had this deliberately quite dark black ring.
Yeah, you keep saying dark. Explain what happened to them. This is very dark.
This is okay. So I'm just going to say about the ring. The ring he had engraved on the letters on the inside, apparently ILVBIDT, which in German is in Liebe variant bis in den Tod, which means united in love until death. From a married man to a 17-year-old, from a married man with some horrible STD. I think he was riddled with gonorrhea, is how they describe it on the episode.
The romance is fading.
Yes.
Now.
And they had a murder-suicide pact.
Yeah.
And he killed them both. Apparently, it was they agreed to die if they ever got found out. They wanted to they wanted to kill each other, and they did. And this is part of what led to World War I, really, because he was bumped off, and then Franz Ferdinand took over, and he was assassinated. And everything went wrong. So, but it was an iron ring from a guy who basically owned like a tenth of the world or something.
Yeah, this is giving iron wedding rings a bad name. But there is precedent in iron jewellery, isn't there? We've looked at Berlin ironwork jewellery.
Well, you tell me about
that. Let's remember, that's during the Napoleonic Wars. Rich people in what is now Germany gave their gold jewellery, and then a replica was made in iron and given back to them, and it was to fund the military, to fund the campaigns. So it was a kind of patriotic and iron, it's an industrial, it's an iron producing country, so it's very symbolic.
And iron turns up on their crowns. I feel like we went to Vienna, didn't we? Was there some iron in a crown or I feel like we saw...
Yes, I think there was. Yes.
So they love a bit
get
of
an
iron
cross, the iron cross as well. So iron is very symbolic, and it's strong and it's hard, isn't it?
It is strong and it is hard, but that also means it's hard to work. Like again, comparing it to silver, which is expensive but not crazy expensive.
So would making a tiny ring, as in a ring that fits a woman's finger, be difficult in iron?
My tools aren't right. There's things that wouldn't work if I.
So would a blacksmith make that?
I don't know. It's very small for blacksmith. Like I suppose you could do, but making it neat. So when I solder something, I have to soak it in acid afterwards, and the acid reacts with iron and copper plates everything. It dissolves the iron. And it's also slightly too hard for my tools. So if I use my tools, it'll blunt my files, it might dent my hammers. So it's something that I'm not really set up to work. I have done blacksmithing, but I haven't done blacksmithing on a jewellery scale. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know. I'm fascinated how they did it. It might have been fire welded and hammered up. It's not impossible. It's just, it seems like a faff. It seems like the silver work is so much easier that you think a silver ring would be cheaper than an iron ring. Because if you're talking pre-industrial.
And if they wanted a black or dark appearing metal, you can, you blacken silver, don't you? What do you call that?
Yeah, it always rubs off.
Silver.
Anyway, we need it on for
time.
Okay,
yeah.
Anyway,
but we'll come back
nice
to this kind of idea of value and jewelry in other episodes, and I'm sure we'll talk about wedding rings again.
Sure.
So, bye.
See you. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.